Some philosophers of the mind believe that consciousness can't be rigorously described. But if it could be, what would that look like? Let's invent a simple creature with 2 sensors and 2 actions. We'll call it Bitey.
I call the big one Bitey.
Now, we'll combine the sensors and actions into behaviors. If sensor 1 is active, then it will do the teeth action, and if sensor 2 is active, it will use its tongue for whatever it does with that. If neither are active, it will do nothing. These simple pre-programmed behaviors are reflexes. They are fast and powerful. But what if they resulted in terrible effects? How does Bitey know that its actions are making it stronger and more successful and not leading it into certain disaster? It doesn't. It can't. Bitey has a rudimentary intelligence, but I wouldn't let it do my physics homework. It is completely dependent on whatever created it. Me. It's on me. That's totally my responsibility. It is stuck with its behaviors, even if they aren't very good. Even if I had programmed its behaviors to be optimally effective, if the environment changed, it could cause its actions to become harmful. It would have no other option but to wait until some outside force came along and changed it. This is a good place to define what I specifically mean by harm and benefit. Beneficial behavior should be one that increases the probability of a creature accomplishing their goal, whatever that is. And a harmful behavior does the opposite. It decreases the likelihood of the creature accomplishing its goal. If we could give Bitey some agency over its own behavior, what would that look like? First, I'm going to add a row to Bitey's behavior table in the event that both conditions are true. Which action should we take in this instance? We don't know, so let's just give it a 50-50 chance for either one. And we'll allow Bitey to discover which is the better choice through trial and error. Next, it needs a system to evaluate if an action feels good or bad. I will represent this with a scalar value from +1 to -1, with positive being beneficial and negative correlating with harm. Now, let's say that when Bitey bites in the true situation,
you speak the true.
It results in a +0.5, and licking results in a -0.5. Bitey now has all the information that it needs to change the probabilities of its actions to increase the likelihood of positive feelings and avoid the negative. This process is a simple example of what behavioral scientists call operant conditioning. The system that evaluates pleasant and unpleasant feelings can also be improved by recording which feelings are associated in which specific conditions. Using this information, potential harm or benefit can be felt by simply observing conditions similar to those that were previously experienced.
I got a bad feeling about this.
That is the essence and purpose of classical conditioning. This information has a different structure than behaviors, so it needs to be persisted in a separate memory storage system that I'm calling opinions. Conditioned behaviors can adapt to changing conditions and even glimpse into the future of what feelings might occur from familiar situations.
I have a bad feeling about this.
But this costs a significant amount of risky, first-hand trial and error experience and only gains a very small amount of foresight. Could we improve this process to reduce the riskiness and increase the foresight? If Bitey could remember initial conditions, the action that it chose, and the conditions that resulted from performing that action, that is all the information it needs to choose its actions in a much more powerful way by making conscious decisions. We'll start with the current conditions, false, false. Now we have to propose a theoretical action. We'll say action A. Use the current conditions and proposed actions and reference the beliefs table to find the predicted consequence. In this case, it would also be false, false. Now, take the consequent conditions and check them against the opinions table. This gives us 0. It's not great. It's not bad. Should Bitey act on this? If it were an emergency, that might be good enough. I mean, it doesn't hurt. But if it had a little time to think more, maybe we could explore other possible actions. Let's return to step 2, but propose a new action. No action. The beliefs table suggests that this will result in the conditions true, false. Checking the opinions table, this gives us plus 0.5. Much better. Depending on whatever we're using for decision criteria, this could be our choice, and it could perform that action. I call this entire process conscious thought. Thank you so much for watching until the end, my fellow intelligent creatures. I really appreciate it. My goal for this video was to introduce some of my ideas really quickly, so that probably sacrificed clarity and some of it might have seemed like nonsense. So if you could let me know in the comments where those were, that'll really help me do a better job next time. I go over classical conditioning much more in depth in my emotions video. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. Also, I think my neurons video is pretty good if you're into that kind of thing. Until next time, care for yourself and make good decisions.